17. He's given time. He wants Jefferson. Climbs the.
How are you, everybody? Welcome to Moving the Chains. Hopefully you got to enjoy watching us on The Last Word. We're back again. Here's Joe, here's Jeff, and of course Steve in the house. We'd like to thank Greg for filling in this week on The Last Word. Now it's time for some NFL action, guys. We were talking about the young guys, those young college players. We're back for the NFL. So, guys, what are you excited about for this weekend?
Oh, man, so much. I think there's a lot of teams that have a chance to kind of, statement games. I think the night game is going to be a great matchup. The Dolphins kind of got humbled with that loss they took, a chance for them to show everybody that they're still that potent offense. So I'm just excited to see that. Also, too, the Colts are off to a pretty decent start. Horrible news losing Anthony Richardson. Now can you bounce back? Can you get your season back on the right path? Another week of Jonathan Taylor. That's just one of the many storylines I'll be keeping my eye on this week.
How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat there. I'm really excited to see the matchup of the 5-1 teams and the Dolphins and Eagles on the Sunday night game, and I think it'll be an interesting, more so defensively matchup with the Colts and the Browns, as the Browns have the best overall rated defense, and the Colts I think are slightly underrated with their defense, but. Yeah, it should be a good matchup with those two. I'm also slightly optimistically excited about Monday night. I think there might be more hope than people are letting on with the Monday night game.
Greg saying he believes the Dolphins are going to beat the Eagles. Could be just because it's, of certain allegiances Greg has, but nonetheless, both of those two teams, it should be an exciting matchup. So, just to touch on this before we get going, we made a lot of picks last week, right?
Yes, we did.
I'd like to tell you guys that we had a clear winner, but we don't.
Oh, man. I was ready to get an award. It's early in the morning. Give me my award.
It was very tight last week. And all of our lone wolves paid off, by the way. Everybody who lone wolf won, okay? Joe Lone Wolf last week on Cincinnati. He got the W on that one. Steve, you Lone Wolf on your Vikings, and they paid off for you. And then, of course, didn't I tell you that the Chargers were going to Charger? Right? Nobody listen to me. I don't say these things for no reason, okay? I read teams, and the Chargers do this all the time. And boy, oh boy. Good. Dallas did play a good game, but they gave you an opportunity late in the game with that botched punt, and yet you still lost the game. I'm sorry. Listen, I've never believed in the Chargers, in this incarnation of the Chargers with this head coach, and he's not giving me any reason to ever pick him in a real matchup. But nevertheless, Joe and Steve, you guys had 6 correct. Greg and I both had 7. So those lone wolves paid off for everybody.
We got him this week, Steve.
We're coming.
The only guy that got 7 without lone wolfing was Greg. Greg just got more matchups right. He didn't have to lone wolf on any of them. So to still get 7. So I thought Greg was going to take the cake, but then I saw I got 7 along with him, and I had to thank my lone wolf for that one. So but nevertheless, there was a Thursday night game. We had to get a little talk. We get a little commentary on. Those Jags beat the Saints in a heartbreaking ending for the Saints. But isn't this just what we expect from the Saints? Tight game against a good team with a flounder in the end.
I would say yes. That Saint team looked horrible in that first half. I was wondering why they even signed Derek Carr, and all of a sudden something kind of switched on, started making some plays, found themselves an opportunity, like you said, in the end to win the game, but then the tight end drops the pass, end up losing. Carr also looked banged up. I mean, I know he's always talked about him being a warrior and being able to fight through injuries. He definitely did not look like he was having a great time out there towards the end of the game. And for Jacksonville, what do the Jags always do, man? They go to Europe, get some tea and crumpets, and they get right. And their season starts to go the way it's supposed to go. It's what Jacksonville does the last couple of years. So, I mean, I was more impressed with Jacksonville and not losing the lead and be able to keep it and put their foot on their throat when the time was right.
Steve?
Yeah, I mean, Travis Etienne continues to start to flourish and shine, and I think that's just the beginning of the tip of the iceberg, as they say. He's one to watch, and Trevor Lawrence is finding his footing in the NFL, and looks like he's getting over whatever knee injury that was. He looked pretty good on the 20-some yard run he had.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Granted, they came back and tied the game up late, but New Orleans looks hard. I just can't sugarcoat it anymore. I can't hold back on it anymore. You have an explosive receiver in Olave. You have a healthy Michael Thomas. You have quality people around these guys and an X factor in Alvin Kamara. And this is the best offense you can come up with. Dink and dunk, grind out these little short panty-anty runs, throw Taysom Hill in there and come up with some gadget plays. This is the best offense you could come up with all of these players. There's something wrong with this coaching staff. And it's not the players. People are going to rip Derek Carr. People are going to rip. It is not the players. Okay? There is no scheme to it. They don't move anybody into certain situations. You look at things that Dallas does. You look at things that Green Bay does. You look at things that the Chargers do. You look at all the things that these offenses that find ways to move. San Francisco, okay? You go down a list of teams. They find matchups. The Saints don't do that. It is the most archaic offense I have ever seen. It's 2023. And this is what the best they could come up with. I'm sorry. This obvious the offensive guru of that team is gone. Because it is the same offensive coordinator that was there when Sean Payton was there.
I think guru would be a stretch of the word.
Yeah. Well, Sean Payton was considered a guru, right? So, he may not be doing it right now in Denver, but in New Orleans, he was considered a chess master.
Mm-hmm.
It's not showing up right now with the guy that was supposed to be his coordinator. The apple fell far from the tree in this situation. They did not.
Yeah, to your point, Jeff, I feel like the Saints offense is the kind of offense you run when you're just trying to stay in the game. You don't have a lot of talent. You have a game manager out there. Let's just stop making the mistakes, and then hopefully we can pull something out in the end. That's the kind of offense they run, but they don't have the roster for that. Like, to your point, they have the roster where you should be doing slants, going deep, Olave's speed can go. You still got a little bit of gas in the tank from Jimmy Graham. Michael Thomas is healthy. This is a guy that had, I want to say, 3 consecutive 100 reception seasons. Alvin Kamara is a guy you can put in the slot, line him out in the backfield. Their offense should be wildly different than what it is. It's like their offense that they run is the kind of offense you run when your team is not that talented, but you want to try to stay in the game and hopefully you can steal it in the end.
They're on pace to have Alvin Kamara with 100 catches. That is insulting. It really is.
He's a good pass catching running back, but there's no way he should be leading your team in receptions.
And it's not like the Gordy average is going to be there either. It's going to be like a 3-yard average on a 100-yard. It's embarrassing. It's
check down,
embarrassing.
check down.
Perform like that.
And Kamara's talented enough; they could probably run some wildcat with him back there. But what are they doing?
Yeah. So enough about the anemic offenses. Let's go to some teams that, even without their quarterbacks, are finding a way to move the ball, right? Let's talk about our first matchup, Browns and Colts. So there's a chance Deshaun Watson comes back this week. There's a chance. Right? The other squad, Gardner Minshew, is going to be the dude because we know Anthony Richardson's lost for the season. So where are you guys on this matchup?
I'll let you go first, Steve. You're the guest.
Sure. All right. I think, and it's in Cleveland, I believe. No, it's in Indy. I want to say that I'm leaning the way the Cleveland Browns, the way their defense is playing. But they're shutting down the run game, so it'll be interesting to see what they'll be able to do with week 2 of Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. But they're going to need to lean on Jonathan Taylor, not having Anthony Richardson. No offense to Gardner Minshew, but he's not the same as Anthony Richardson athletically or anything else. And I just don't know if Indy can match level for level all the way across the way that Cleveland is set up to be. So I think I'm giving Cleveland an edge. This will be a low scoring game. I think it's going to be a defensive matchup. This game might have a total of 34 points.
Wow. I'm just really impressed with Cleveland's defense last week. I mean, what they did to the 49ers, I'm still in shock that they were able to just shut that offense down the way that they did. So with that being said, I'm going to go with Cleveland. I think they have enough playmakers to get things done. If Deshaun Watson comes back, great. If he doesn't, I still think they have enough to get the win there. I think for the Colts, though, what you have to be afraid of is if you do lose this one, and oh, yeah, by the way, we lost our quarterback, we don't want this to be a snowball effect where guys start second-guessing themselves and the season kind of goes from being a season where you had hope and then all of a sudden it turns into we're looking for draft picks and what can we do in next year. So for the Colts, you can't lose the team. You can't have them all just say, hey, you know what? We lost our quarterback. Our season's lost. But I think for the Browns, you got to build off what you did last week because it was the talk of the league.
Yep. And who is the backup for Watson if he doesn't go?
Well,
the well-traveled
backups have been pretty beat up. So it was PJ Richardson.
Walker. PJ Walker. Yeah.
PJ Walker.
The practice squad guy.
I'm combining names. Richardson and
PJ, he's been into a lot of places. Last time I saw him, he was starting quarterback for the Los Angeles XFL team.
Yeah. He's been everywhere. So Joe's going Cleveland.
I went Cleveland as well.
All right. So, and I'm going to tell you what. I think Gardner Minshew is capable. I think Cleveland right now still a little inconsistent. I think they miss Nick Chubb a little. I love Ford. I think Ford does a great job of running the football for me. He gives them that boost. Their passing game just seems to be a little disjointed right now. I think once they get that going, their offense will flourish. I think that defense is enough to get them to win against Indy. So we're going to go a clean sweep on this one. I'm going to take them as well. And Greg is saying in the chat that he believes in the Browns. So
I think it'll be a defensive score that makes the difference.
Yeah. I think it'll be a late field goal.
I
think it'll be a late field goal. I think what's going to happen is
set up by a defensive turnover.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to our next matchup. Of course, those first place Lions battling those slightly first place Ravens. In a matchup of first place teams, AFC versus NFC. Very, teams built a lot alike, except for the fact that the Lions actually have a number one receiver that they actually throw the ball to, and it's healthy. So let's talk about this one a little bit. Joe, you get to kick this one off.
Man, Jeff with the shots on the Ravens offense. I think for Baltimore, yet again, a chance to show that with a new offensive coordinator, things are changing. I mean, it's funny how people, not us, but I definitely watch a lot of national media, listen to a lot of podcasts, and the bashing of Lamar Jackson. We expected more from Lamar. When we look at his stats and the stats that matter, winning, he's doing what he needs to do to get his team in position to get wins. Receivers not making plays, whether it be dropping passes, not running the route right, not running the right routes. So that 5 times fast are things you can't fault Lamar Jackson for. So I think being at home, and again, like I said, what better way to make a statement and to shut up a lot of people by getting a win against a really tough Detroit team who has proven they can go anywhere, anytime, and play anybody. Well, whether you talk about the opening week win on the road against the Chiefs, going to Tampa Bay against a team that was kind of hot there with Baker Mayfield. So I'm not sleeping on the Lions at all. With all that being said, I think Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are up for the challenge. I think they get it done. I think this is where you get your Mark Andrews involved. You get some of those other receivers not named Odell Beckham Jr. involved, Zay Flowers. Just capitalize on opportunities early and feed off that home crowd. This would be a huge win for Baltimore. And if they do lose, it just further proves these are not your mom and dad's Detroit Lions.
So Joe's going to stay in the Beltway. Steve.
Always.
Yes. So Lions and the Ravens. Lions, of course, are in the NFC North. There will be a rival to my Vikings, and they are looking very good now. They've got themselves figured out, and it looks like they might have found themselves an actual head coach to back and stay behind and bring the squad together. They've got whatever he's doing, they're buying into at the moment. Their chemistry is building. Jared Goff looks like he's rediscovered himself. I think that Super Bowl loss really shook him, and it's taken a while to get back to who he was mentally, I guess. But he has definitely come together since going to Detroit, and they look legit. I think they are a team to watch out for in this NFC outside of the Eagles and 49ers. I think those two teams need to watch out. Detroit is legit and for real. I do like Baltimore, and I want to say that the Ravens will get this win today, but I just don't know. I have more faith in Detroit right now currently, which is an odd thing to say. I don't think anyone's ever said having faith in Detroit. But I'm going to go with the Lions today.
Wow. So 2 for Detroit. Joe, are you going to be the lone wolf on Baltimore?
I am.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, this is a tough matchup.
Yeah.
Both of these defenses are tough. No doubt about it.
Black and blue
But
game.
you have to look at the offenses and question yourself, which one you trust more. Now, my problem with Baltimore is not Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson's playing well for what he has. We know the early injury situation where he was throwing to whoever other than Zay Jones and, of course, his trusty tight end, right? So I think they're starting to get a little bit healthier. He's got Bateman back. He's got Beckham back. We haven't seen an Odell Beckham, though, that has been a threat yet. The running game has been efficient. It really does miss Dobbins. So I think you're going to have Lamar make more Lamar plays, especially in a game like this where you're going up against Aiden Hutchinson and the linebacking core of Detroit. So I'm going to go Detroit just because I trust their offense more. So, Joe, you will be lone wolfing on this one. But when I look at how they're playing right now, I wouldn't be shocked if Baltimore pulls this out.
Exactly.
But it's just, if you're going to look at the offenses and how they're playing, I trust Detroit a little bit more right now. I really do. They're just playing a lot better football offensively. But don't be surprised if Lamar pulls one out of the hat and makes it happen, because he can't do that. He is
feed off the home crowd, Ravens. Feed off that home crowd.
Yeah, so Joe's going to be the first lone wolf of the day.
My other question is going to be this injuries to the secondary of Baltimore. Is Humphreys going to be available, and how healthy is he going to be if he is going?
Well, with Baltimore, I'll tell you what, Humphreys is an excellent defender. He's very disciplined, which is what they needed in their defense. Because Lord knows they didn't have that in Peters. Peters is gambling.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to make a play. He's going to give up a play.
Absolutely.
So, I think they needed that guy. They've got him. But I like their young corners. I think the young corners are up and coming, and people are going to give them a little more credit as these guys go out there and continue to prove themselves. But overall, Amon-Ra St. Brown is playing extremely well. And once again, like I said, he continues to make me look bad, because I thought what he's doing, his older brother would have been doing, and it's just never happened. So Equanimeous just fizzled, and Amon-Ra has sizzled. So
his other brother's in purgatory, though, aka Chicago.
That's gotta suck, right? All three of you are big time college football players. The two of them go on and be big time, and then go on to the NFL, and you never even sniff it. So yeah, it's gotta suck being the other one. But their father was a bodybuilder, so maybe he followed in his father's footsteps after college. I haven't really kept track. So. But yes, we're going to go to a quick commercial. We're going to come back with more Moving the Chains. A couple more games to go through. Picks. We also got a special segment where we're going to talk about what is a franchise quarterback, because everybody wants to know, because you get 50 million answers to this question. We'll be back with more Moving the Chains right after this.
Hey, football fans, we have a great offer for you from one of our newest partners, FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up now for a new FanDuel account by using our special link located in the description, and you will get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000. That means that you can bet up to $1,000 on your first wager risk-free. FanDuel will give you the amount you wagered back in free bets if you lose. So go ahead and bet on your favorite team this Sunday, and even if they lose, you are taken care of. To claim this special offer, just click the link in the description and create a new account. Then, make your first bet on whatever you like. That's it. Win some money at FanDuel today.
So we're back, and we're going to talk about what is considered to be the most important position on the field. And we're talking about quarterbacks. Everybody loves them. Everybody needs one. He's the dude, apparently. But what makes a franchise quarterback? That is the magic question. And that's what we're trying to figure out.
Special plays time and time again, saves the day. The enigmatic question: what is a franchise quarterback? We've seen this all over the league. Many guys get drafted with mixed results. Pat Mahomes has been everything that the Chiefs have hoped for. Leader, face of the franchise, Super Bowl champion multiple times, makes special plays time and time again, saves the day. Patrick Mahomes has been what many measure as the franchise quarterback. But what about others? Other guys who are good, who will face of the franchise, but they may not have these qualifications. Let's look at this, and we'll try and see if we can figure out what is a franchise quarterback. In New York, Zach Wilson was the top draft pick of the Jets, and it just didn't go well those first two seasons, so much that they brought in Aaron Rodgers, who goes down with an injury in his first game. As a result, Wilson's thrust back into the spotlight and yet is having mixed results. So, where do the Jets go with Zach Wilson? Is he a bust, or is he still the future of this franchise? When Tony Romo injured his back again on that Seattle turf, many Cowboy fans feared the worst. It would be the end of Tony Romo's career, but would also be the start of Dak Prescott's. Dak Prescott would go on to not only lead the Cowboys to a division title that year, but he would also, in his first 100 starts, win almost 70 games. An impressive record as a starter. But nevertheless, without finding his way to the Super Bowl, or even at least the NFC Championship game, many Cowboy fans are growing frustrated with his tenure as starter. Yet you see his face everywhere on TV. But most importantly, they were just as scared when he was carted off a couple years ago. And how about Joe Burrow? Burrow has done everything he can to erase past disappointments in Cincinnati, leading to a Super Bowl already, unfortunately losing to the Rams. He has brought hope to the Cincinnati franchise. If he can stay healthy, maybe he'll have long-term success. Hopefully, that'll help you forget Dave Klingler and Achilles Smith. Just a couple of failures by this franchise at quarterback. How about quarterbacks like Testaverde, who their initial franchise had no success at all, but went on to have better success and get playoff wins with other teams such as Cleveland, Baltimore, and the Jets. We've seen this play out around the league and around other things. How about injuries? RG3's career ended after a knee injury in Washington. And how about Carson Wentz? finally blossoming into the quarterback that many Eagles fans hoped he would be when they drafted him in the top 3 of the NFL draft. He gets injured during a Magic Super Bowl run, only to have to stand around on the podium and watch as the Super Bowl championship trophy, the Lombardi, gets presented not only to his teammates, but the guy who was backing him up, who became the star and most beloved in Philadelphia, Nick Foles. Wentz's career has never been the same. There are greats like Warren Moon who have never won a Super Bowl, and he's not the only one. Despite Hall of Fame status and numbers, 0 Super Bowl appearances. Jim Kelly went to 4, lost all 4. And how about Dan Marino, who only went to 1 and didn't win, failing to beat Joe Montana. Fouts, no Super Bowls, gold jacket. And he's not the only one. How about Fran Tarkenton, who went to multiple Super Bowls, got a gold jacket. But nevertheless, you watch guys like Mark Rippon win the Super Bowl. And then, of course, there's this guy. Just another cautionary tale that tells us elite quarterbacks don't always win.
The magic question, right? We've seen it. You draft the guy number 1. Either it pans out, it doesn't. He wins games for you, but you don't get the Super Bowl. Is the Super Bowl the measure of a franchise quarterback? Are wins the measure of a franchise quarterback? Are numbers the measure of a franchise quarterback? You get different answers from different people. What do you guys believe a franchise quarterback is?
Man, for me, I would say it translates into wins. It's not about the stats. It's about you can take Joe Burrow to me is a franchise quarterback, and the reason why is look what he's done to the Bengals franchise. From the bungles and jokes and laughing to prime time, full stadiums, people rocking Bengals gear, wearing Joe Burrow jerseys. That to me is what makes a franchise quarterback. One of the guys who I think is one of the ultimate franchise quarterbacks. I look at John Elway. He lost to my Washington football team, but he made the Super Bowl against Washington. He made the Super Bowl against Green Bay, won those 2 titles. He changed that Denver Broncos franchise and made them must-see TV and made that franchise's name household names around the league. Can you transform my team and take my team to another level on the field and also off the field? That's what determines a franchise quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, to me, is a franchise quarterback. I would say that Dan Marino, Hall of Famer, great numbers, but only 1 Super Bowl appearance his entire career. The Dolphins team also should have done more to help him, but I would say that John Elway is more of a franchise quarterback than Dan Marino is. I'd even say Patrick Mahomes is already, just because of what he's done to that franchise and what he's done to the whole organization as a whole. So for me, it's all about the wins. The numbers, especially in today's NFL, with the almost like it's tackle 7-on-7, numbers are kind of inflated. I think that it's all about what you do for the franchise in terms of wins and success.
How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I kind of agree in some of the direction that Joe was going for there. I'm also slightly going to differ. I don't think it is actually Super Bowl and Super Bowl wins, because you can run down quite a list of Joe Flacco, Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson, Nick Foles, guys who are basically backup quarterbacks who have Super Bowl wins or rings. And it doesn't really equate to anything else other than that Super Bowl win. So I think, like Joe was saying, it's more in the intangibles. I think it's not just the statistical stuff or the wins. It's actually the leadership in the locker room and what he represents to that offense and to that team on the sideline, in training, during the week, in the film room, when they're studying, how he gets his teammates rallied together and up and ready for a game and back from when they're down, or etc., how they deal with adversity. I think the leadership factor is what is the X factor in making a true franchise quarterback.
Yeah, it's a very complex question, right? Because,
it is.
Some people go, well, if you're not winning championships, well, there are guys, like we said, who won championships who weren't franchise quarterbacks. They were regular, right? You think of Joe Gibbs winning 3 Super Bowls. He did it with 3 different quarterbacks, First, it was Theismann. And of course, Theismann may have been their initial franchise quarterback before Lawrence Taylor kind of ended his career. But then after that, he had Doug Williams, who was there for a short time, coming off the stints, original stint with Tampa Bay, then going to the USFL. But then after that, he has, Mark Rippon, and he goes and wins with Mark Rippon. So it proves that you can win without one. Brad Johnson, of course, we talk about, but think about the Raiders. Right, thinking about them winning with Jim Plunkett. Jim Plunkett wasn't a franchise quarterback. He had a chance in Cincinnati. It didn't work. With the Raiders, he was in and out of the lineup. So finally, he stuck those seasons where he did win the Super Bowl, or at least lead them there. But they went there with different guys all the time. And the Raiders never really had a true franchise quarterback. Yes, Stabler was there, but there was also LaMonica. And there were many guys that they went to championship games with, or even a Super Bowl with. So there were different times when you look at French. I think there's only been a handful of times you go to the Super Bowl and you see a team in the Super Bowl with their franchise quarterback. The Niners in the 80s, the Cowboys in the 90s, the Broncos. All right, when they finally got there in the late 90s, Elway had been there long enough, but he got there this time with a team that was way better than the teams that he took there in the past. Before, it was all on the arm of Elway and those young receivers, much like it was always on Marino. And you kind of felt bad for Marino because him and Elway in the 80s had it bad. It was them and nothing at all. Okay? You look at their running games back then, Miami's trying to win with Mark Higgs. I think Bobby Humphrey played for both of those teams at one point. Yeah. So they were passing running backs around because they just felt they didn't have to have a special dude because they had these special quarterbacks, and they found out at the end special teams win. But I think if you're a team and you want to be a franchise that has to have sustained success, it starts with the quarterback position. You have to have a consistent guy who's going to be there that consistently wins games for you. So when people talk about some of these guys that haven't done it yet, we're talking about the young man in Los Angeles with the Chargers. They're talking about Dak Prescott. These guys are winning games consistently. So to me, they're franchise quarterbacks because they're consistently winning and getting you in the playoffs. They're giving you the chance to be a special team. To me, when you get in the playoffs, the best teams win. Plain and simple. The best teams win. Okay? We could talk about best quarterbacks and all that stuff. Jimmy Garoppolo got their team to a Super Bowl because they were the best team in the NFC. He wasn't the best quarterback by far. And he's going to prove it. Okay? But so we're seeing best teams in the playoffs win. Jalen Hurts last year, played very well. But he wasn't the best quarterback, but he was the best team in the NFC. So I think what we're trying to differentiate between the two is what teams win in the playoffs, but what quarterbacks are actually franchise guys that give their teams chances. And I think that's where we lose the conversation with a lot of these things. Yes, stats are important. Yeah, championships are important. Not everybody's Michael Jordan who goes out there and wins, 6 rings. Not everybody's Joe Montana who wins 4. Not everybody's Tom Brady. So I think what we're looking at is a consistent winning attitude and a consistent winning performance, by quarterbacks with that franchise. It is what's going to be the thing that you determine as a franchise quarterback. Like we talked about with Testaverde. He couldn't win in Tampa Bay. He goes to Cleveland and Baltimore. He wins games. He goes to the Jets. He wins. Wasn't a great quarterback. Wasn't a horrible one either. But he looked horrible in Tampa Bay because the franchise couldn't get it right? So I think what we're looking at is that people got to really take the whole picture when looking at quarterbacks. And that's one of the things we just don't do on a consistent basis, especially on our side, the media side, because there's so many things to easily just throw a hot take out there for to say a guy stinks.
Yeah, that's why I'm I'm obsessed. Oh, yeah, I'd say borderline obsessed with Burrow because I just think about how the Bengals were a joke and we just made fun of them, and you wouldn't be caught dead wearing a Bengal hat or a Bengal shirt unless you were born and raised in Cincinnati. And now he has these guys winning at a high level. I mean, look at it. He's not healthy. They stumble out the gates. As his calf gets healthier, they start playing a little better. You're at 500. You go into your bye week, hit another chance for them to get even more healthy. I just want those guys to go on a hell of a run when they come back next week and start playing ball again. And that's because he's a good quarterback that can change your franchise around and get you wins.
Absolutely. Steve.
Yeah, and I think if you want to look at a shining example, look at exactly that. Tom Brady, who managed to get 6-7 rings. He was, a 6th-round draft pick? He's not the most athletic guy. He didn't have the strongest arm. He wasn't the greatest. None of his things said that Tom Brady's a franchise quarterback. But Tom Brady made himself the franchise quarterback because Tom Brady took a work ethic beyond the level of anyone else in the room around him and made everyone else have to step up to his level, regardless of what he was. And that's the difference. That's what makes it a winning quarterback and a winning team.
Excellent point.
Indeed. So just to get last points in before we get back to our games, what do you guys, when you look around the league now, who do you think are some of the guys that really are franchise quarterbacks as opposed to guys who they're trying to make into franchise quarterbacks?
Oh, man, this wasn't in the notes. I feel like I'm spitting out a hot take. Who do I think is a current franchise quarterback? Jalen Hurts. I've been singing the praises of Burrow already. I think Josh Allen's a guy that gets you wins, elevates your team, and makes others around him better. Lamar Jackson. I think you take him off that Ravens team, they're bottom feeders.
Absolutely.
Man, who else? Even though he hasn't won a Super Bowl, just from what I've seen him do in his short time in LA, I'd say Matt Stafford as well as a guy. I mean, you put Matt Stafford in the Commanders, we might make the NFC Championship game. I mean, he's that good. He elevates your play that well. I'd say Matt Stafford. Guys that people are trying to force on us, I think it's more, I don't know how much more of it's the organization, how much is on him, this level of play. Maybe it's a 50-50 split, but I think they're trying to force Justin Herbert down our throats, I think, a little bit. I think that the jury's still kind of out, in my opinion, on Jared Goff. And then, of course, I fell for the bait. I'd say Zach Wilson as well. He's not it.
No. Neither is Sam Darnold. I think Zach Wilson's future is more Sam Darnold than it is.
There you go. Good point.
Than any other top quarterback. I think maybe his ceiling is Jimmy Garoppolo, which is, again, I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. He's got a success rate that's based on more around his team than himself. Franchise quarterbacks outside of Patrick Mahomes. I honestly want to borderline put Dak on that frame because he has won an awful lot of games and he does try to elevate those around him. And him being on your team gives you a better chance to win than a lot of other quarterbacks. I think Kirk Cousins misses that just a little bit just because I don't think he has that in the locker room presence where he's elevating those around him. I think he's highly intelligent. He knows what he's doing in the quarterback room and behind center and all that. And he can read a defense and figure things out. He's highly successful, but I don't think he has that Tom Brady factor that makes someone an actual franchise quarterback. And I kind of agree. I think Justin Herbert is sort of in that same kind of missing some of that inner locker room tangible leadership role. Put the game on my back, on my shoulders. I'll show you the way. There's only a few out there that really are franchise quarterbacks. I think we might be seeing the emergence of Tua Tagovailoa becoming that.
I gotta see him healthy, man. I want to say that too. But every game he plays, when he falls, I'm looking to see if he's getting up. I'm not even looking to see what the result of the play was. Has Tua gotten up? Yes or no? And I saw Greg mention Deshaun Watson. Even though it's been a long time, I kind of feel like that guy's still working the kinks out, man, personally. Yeah. And unless to see him just fall off that hard, you're trying to tell me that guy just fell off a cliff skill-wise that bad? I find that hard to believe. I think he's still working his way back.
Yeah, it's been a year and a half, right? We talked about it. He hasn't played a full season yet since the sitting out a year since the long suspension.
Exactly.
It was a year and a half of no playing football. That's a lot on anybody. Then he's in a new organization, new system, new people.
That's what they say. It kept Colin Kaepernick from getting returned to the field. So
yeah, so
it worked out for Watson, but I don't know that he's gonna ever be what he was. I think he's gonna become a good quarterback again. I don't know if he's gonna be MVP where he was at before. And I don't know if he is actually can you be a franchise quarterback after what he went through? I don't know how much of a leadership can you really attain in a locker room after what he went through.
Well, I think football players are good at deep compartmentalizing things. I think his teammates are like, what can you do for me to help me win on the football field? What you do on the off field is on you. But if it's true that he's lost that much skill, having sat out that season and a half, that's a story in itself. That's incredible because he was legit in Houston. I mean, we were talking about if the Texans can just get this and Texans can get that, he'll have them in the Super Bowl. And then, of course, the holdout and then the allegations. And now you just see like a dink and dunk guy trying too hard in Cleveland. That's wild to me if that's the quarterback he's going to be from now on.
Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Or any of the players in Major League Baseball that got the case of the yips and they washed out of the entire MLB because they couldn't throw to first base anymore and they were second baseman or whatever. I mean, Chuck Knobloch, baseman, all-star, couldn't throw the ball first base anymore. Game over.
Well,
he was MVP talent, and now so. It happens. I don't know. I can't explain it. I don't know why it happens, but there's definitely something that can occur that guys just lose something. And I mean, I thought Derrick Rose was going to come back to be Derrick Rose, and that never happened.
Yeah. Well, we've gone down that rabbit hole deep enough that we got to climb back out and get back in the games. So back at it. We've done 2 so far. One of the premier matchups this week. We're talking Dolphins-Eagles. And everybody's salivating at the mouth over this one. You got 2 offenses that people love to watch. You got the Eagles defense. Can they do it? Can Tyreek Hill carve up Darius Slay and company? Very interesting matchup. Can Tua stay healthy versus this pass rush? And that's a whole other thing, right? We're talking about Tua. You're not getting up. All right. So, Steve, I know you're hoping that your Vikings can make a run and get back into the pack. The Eagles no longer undefeated. This will help you guys get there.
Yes.
What do you think of this matchup?
This is a very interesting matchup, and it'll be very fun to see on Sunday night as it will be the marquee matchup, so it'll get all the lights and publicity that it deserves. The Dolphins have one of the most powerful offenses going this year. The Eagles are right with them offensively, and they should have a really good defense. But so far, that defense, and there has been some injury issues, but the Eagles defense just has not been the Eagles defense that they were last year. Yeah. And I think that might be an issue, especially with how fast and explosive this the offense is. I just don't know how well that's going to work out for this Eagles defense. I really think Hill and Waddle, and then HN, they're crazy fast, and this defense might not be ready for it. I think the Dolphins are going to come out with a win tonight. Tua over Jalen.
Joe?
I think that for the Miami Dolphins, this is a chance for a statement game. I think that the word on the street in the NFL is they're soft because of all the speed. They're not a punch you in the face and knock you in the mouth type of team. And I think that's exactly what the front 7 of the Philadelphia Eagles does. They come after you, they attack, they come in waves, they got a hell out of depth up front. I think if Miami can establish the running game and kind of make that a non-factor as far as the Eagles having such talent up front, that will open things up in the passing game, because I think that the Eagles secondary and linebackers will have a lot of problems taking care of Waddle, taking care of Tyreek Hill. But I think the running game's got to get established. And that will also help Tua stay upright and not running for his life all night. But I think it's a bigger game, I think, for Miami than it is for Philadelphia, because there's still a lot of people who are skeptical of the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah. So Who do you have with this one, Joe?
Oh, I'm going Miami.
You're going Miami.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think they get it done.
All right. So, yeah, when I look at this matchup, two explosive offenses. To me, it comes down to the defenses. I like what the Eagles defense does. The way they were able to apply pressure, the way they're able to slow things down. I think the X factor, because we're talking about Miami, we're talking about the explosiveness. What has been one of the most explosive things for them besides Tyreek Hill this year? Devin Achane.
It's a shame. Yeah.
But unfortunately, he is unavailable. He is on IR. So they lose a bit of that explosiveness at the wrong time, in my opinion, because this is the team you need that for. So I'm going to go lone wolf. I'm going to go with the Eagles in this one because I believe the Eagles pass rush is going to be the key here. I love Tua. I don't think he's going to be able to ad-lib the way Mahomes did to beat this Eagles defense. I think it's going to be times where he's under pressure. He's going to have some interceptions. He's going to take some hits. They're going to hit some big plays. It's going to be an exciting game. But unfortunately, we're going to go with the Birds. So
I think missing Blankenship in the back end is also going to hurt the Eagles on that secondary, trying to shut down those two receivers. So there's going to be some deep shot that Tua's going to hit. Yeah, Tua can hit deep shots. I know, crazy that.
he's got to
Run
stay
the ball.
upright.
You got to run. If you're Miami, you have to run the ball. It cannot be Tua dropping back 35, 40 times. I don't even skip the concussions. It's the amount of talent Philadelphia has up front that they can go 1, 2, 3, heck, 4 deep on the defensive line and bring fresh bodies going after you. But if you get that run game and make those guys have to think about it, if it's a run, if it's a pass, that opens up a lot of things for Miami. If they can't run the ball, they're not going to win.
Ultra disruptive on the inside.
Yep.
Talk about the guys on the inside of that defensive front for the Eagles, the way they break down the interior pocket for shorter quarterbacks. That is the hardest thing because you can't see when those big bodies are here. So I think that's going to be the ultra disruptive. I think how we saw Buffalo, their defense impact Tua. I think that's how the Eagles defense is going to impact Tua as well. So we got our two lone wolves. Joe lone wolves on Baltimore. I lone wolf on the Eagles. Think about that one. We went 3 for 3 last week on lone wolves, people. So these are important picks.
The Wolves win.
Vikings Niners. I have a feeling we have a lone wolf on this one too. But
If you want me to,
let's go right to the
I was going to say,
Let's go right to the sauce.
complete your case, Steve.
all right,
Please.
I will go first here. Says my hometown Viking squad and Niners on the Monday night matchup. No, on paper, this does not look good at all. On paper, it should all just turn away and not look. However, that's not how these things work. We play the games on Sunday because we don't watch what the paper says. So, yes, the 49ers are a 7-point favorite. How'd that work out for them last week when they were 9.5-point favorites? Oh, they wound up losing. This is another potential trap game for the 49ers who are going to go on the road and think they have a cakewalk victory handed to them and manage to wet the bed because they have not fully prepared the way Brian Flores watched the tape of what Cleveland did and is going to emulate that and put in a defense that is going to shut down the 49ers offense the way that the Cleveland did last week. Why? Myles Garrett is great. Danielle Hunter's numbers this year are almost double Garrett's across the board. 11 tackles for a loss. He's tied for first with 8 sacks. Danielle Hunter is a force to be reckoned with. And with Trent Williams still questionable, I just think this is a chance for the Vikings defense to eat and actually come away with a steal upset this week. Yes, I said it. The Vikings are my upset pick of the week. They'll win this game by 2 or 3 points.
All right. Joe, what say you?
I think the 49ers are angry, and I don't think you don't want to play an angry 49er team. I understand the Deebo Samuel's injury. That's a big injury that can linger, and I get that Christian McCaffrey might be limited, but you still have Fred Warner. You still got Bosa. Still got the rest of those guys in that secondary that can make plays. I think these guys they want to get back on the field. I think that they slept on Cleveland. They got punched in the face and lost that game. They've probably been itching to get back on that field and show people what they're capable of. And they got a little bit of depth, too, in San Francisco at the running back position. So, I mean, of course, there's no Christian McCaffrey clone, but I don't think that running game is going to be completely dead if he's not as effective as he usually is. So I got the 49ers winning this game. They've been waiting a long time to get back on the field.
Indeed. And you know what? They're definitely upset after last week. You know, we've seen the injury report. Some of those guys are still beat up. McCaffrey still beat up. Debo is questioned whether he even plays today. Trent Williams, same thing, questionable. However, that is a physical Niners team that could come out and beat anybody. When they're ultra focused, they're hard to beat. We've seen that. Minnesota got their second win last week, looking to get going again.
Riding that momentum and getting their first home win because they have not won at home either. So they're in a position of also itching to get a win themselves at home that they have not had this year, that they were almost undefeated last year at home. So they're trying to right their own ships.
Never trust Kirk Cousins in big games.
I would feel a lot better about them had they not won last week, beating San Francisco this week. But I'm going to go with San Francisco as well on this one. I think you're going to be lone wolfing on this one. So we'll see if we go perfect on lone wolves again this week. Yes. So we're at that point of the show where it's time to go rapid fire. So, first matchup, Chicago Bears Raiders.
Raiders.
Yeah, I go Raiders.
What say you, Greg, in the chat? I know you've been chiming in with this,
Come on, Greg, give it to us.
Well, Greg is typing. I'm going Raiders as well. As much as I want,
Moody's a great kicker. He's going to win the 49ers games when it matters. Move on. Let's move on.
I just don't. As much as I love Tyson Bagent, seeing the way the Chicago Bears staff have operated this year, they don't give me a lot of confidence. So I'm going to clean sweep as well. Raiders, Buffalo, New England.
I think I'm gonna have to go with the Buffalo Bills in this one. I don't know why.
Oh, what? Because they're a better team. Bills. Come on, man. I don't know why. What the hell? Bills.
Yes, I think New England's in disarray right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to win. And we got another clean sweep on that one. Buffalo takes the cake. One near and dear to your heart, Commanders, Giants.
Whew. Game's in New York. I'm going to go Commanders. No Daniel Jones. I nicked up Saquon Barkley. I know Sam Howell's on pace to be the most sacked quarterback in the history of football, but I go Commanders. We get it done.
Yeah, I believe that there's far too much talent on the Commanders side of the field there than there are with the Giants. At the Commanders for the taking.
Wow. Man, I thought somebody would have split on some of these. We're going right down the queue on the Commanders. And it is a division matchup, so those are hard to call.
Yeah.
But I just think there's just too much wrong with the Giants right now. Daniel Jones hurt. Saquon may be back, but he ain't 100%. Darren Waller's a zombie out there right now. It's just a wreck of a Giant team running around. If they pull off this upset, it won't shock me because it's a division matchup. But I'll be disappointed that we got that paper. Atlanta, Tampa Bay.
If we got that wrong, they deserved it. Yeah, I don't know.
Atlanta, Tampa Bay.
I go Buccaneers. I say the Buccaneers get it back on track. They're tough. We talked about before. The Lions are a tough team. It was a home game and creamsicle jerseys, and yeah. Detroit doesn't care. So I think that Tampa Bay comes back.
I think Tampa Bay has more structure and more pieces in place, but I think Atlanta is a young team on the rise and starting to figure it out. I'm gonna go Atlanta.
Wow, Desmond Ritter fan over here.
The running back Robinson.
Yeah, he's
Greg
a
is
big
going with the Bucks. This is in Tampa, so we know about Desmond Ritter at home. We know how it is on the road. All right, but divisional matchup, you never know. However, if Art Smith was moving people around like Kyle Pitts and those guys and getting them open like he does his
He's got
running
a
back.
touchdown last week. I see 2 weeks in a row now.
Yeah, but he's not getting volume catches. It's like, okay, here's a touchdown. All right, you're happy now, kid. All right, now go back to doing what I tell you to do. Go block. You got to keep the guy involved. I just have a little more faith in Tampa Bay right now.
Yeah.
I would love nothing more than to see, and people are going to go, but you cover the Bucks. How are you going to say you love nothing more than to see Atlanta do? Because I like the talent that they have. I want to see them utilize it.
Yep.
But I'm going with the Bucks. So you're lone wolfing twice today, Steve. So double the pleasure. All right. So you definitely get this right. You're the dude right now. I'm going to start getting scared and switching picks if I see Steve.
If this works out right, we're going to have to track its own wolf stats.
We're going to definitely do that. Pittsburgh versus the Rams.
Ooh. I want to like the Steelers. I really do, but oh man.
I'm gonna go Rams. Cooper Kupp's come back and hasn't missed a beat.
Yeah,
Plus the rookie they got.
Matthew Stafford. Yeah, they got that connection going. And then Pacheco guy is just ridiculous.
They give you a jersey in Los Angeles and tell you play running back and you get 60 yards.
Right,
I go Rams.
Puka, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go Rams in that receiver group they've got going ahead. Yeah, they're.
Oh, so it looks like we got a clean sweep here. I don't trust the Pittsburgh offense right now. I don't think Pittsburgh's offense trusts Pittsburgh's offense. So we're going to go clean sweep on the Rams. Arizona, Seattle.
I mean,
This is the easiest one, I think. I got to go Seattle.
yeah. Seattle beat the Lions, so I mean, if they can't beat the Cardinals, then
Good point.
Greg says Seattle, and I will not be lone wolfing on the Cardinals. They are capable of winning this game. It's a division matchup, but I think Seattle needs to get back on track, and I think Arizona gives them the opportunity to do so. Arizona seem to have more success outside the division than they do inside.
Yeah.
So I feel safer with that, all of us going all in on Seattle. Green Bay, Denver.
well, somebody has to win this game. Oh,
I'm still sticking with Jordan Love. I think it's just an experience being a first-time starter. I go Green Bay. Rely on that running game, man. You got two good running backs, a defense that's underperformed the last couple of weeks. I still go Green Bay. Denver's just in shambles.
I think Green Bay has more figured out defensively than the Broncos have figured out anythingly. So I'm gonna have to edge as much as I hate saying the words. Green Bay is gonna win. I'm giving the Packers a win.
And another clean sweep because I'm sorry. If I'm looking at these two teams, I can see ways that Green Bay wins this game. Denver has to put it all together. They haven't. It's either been 1 week the defense has played well and the offense looks like garbage, or
And
vice versa.
Denver's trying to play for the first draft pick.
Yeah. Well, they need to play.
Denver's showcasing potential trade partners.
Yeah. They need to play for something because right now I don't know what they're playing for. You have too much talent on that team for it to be that dysfunctional, and you got a new staff in there who's trying to get it right. It's all dysfunction. I don't know what's going on in Denver. It's definitely not in the water because Joe seems fine. So I'm going to go Green Bay. All right. Last but not least, Kansas City Chiefs Chargers.
I mean, another division game. Wow, shocker. They're all
Yeah.
division games this week. Yeah, again, it's as you said last week, the Chargers are going to charger. I am fully on that boat, and I will not get off that boat anymore. The Chargers are going to charger, and when they have all the talent and potential to be in games and can win games, they're going to find a way to lose them, mostly because their coach is going to go for it on some stupid 4th down somewhere on their own 20-yard line. Yeah, the Chiefs don't make those kind of mistakes or the bad coaching decisions. They've got Andy Reid, and they've got Patrick Mahomes, and they've got Travis Kelce, and they've got Pacheco, and they've got Chris Jones. So, yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs.
Joe?
Upset special.
Oh!
Upset special. Yep, I'm going with the Chargers. They pull it off. A shocker. Justin Herbert tired of being a Mahomes shadow.
So now
For
you're
at least a week.
lone wolves with me. We're double lone wolfing.
Chargers figured it out.
I haven't said mine yet. I haven't said it.
And this game is in Kansas City, right? This game's in Kansas City, right?
It is.
It's like they played
Yes,
already.
it is. It is at Arrowhead. Yes.
Chargers, man. What a shocker is about to be happening.
So Greg is actually going Kansas City as well, which leaves it up to me to figure out if we're splitting or is it going to be a double lone wolf for you two guys. And listen, this Kansas City offense has not looked like the offense of old, right? It's definitely got something naggy-ish about it, right? It butters along. The quarterback's got to make special plays.
Maybe they'll get the deep ball going.
You know, it's very something naggy-ish about this offense right now. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something naggy-ish about this offense. Maybe it's that Matt Nagy's involved. That's it. That's okay. The obvious guy that brought explosiveness to the offense is now bringing explosiveness to the Washington Commanders offense. Okay, the people that they said can't call a play is calling plays in Washington, that they're looking fine. But this Chiefs offense looks a little off, you know. And even with Andy Reid there, he's letting people call their own plays. Something naggy-ish about this offense. And the Chargers can score. We've seen them score. However, they don't score in crucial moments.
Until today.
It could be until today. It's happened before. They have pulled off upsets against the Chiefs plenty of times.
So you're saying Austin Eckler is going to impress all the fantasy owners?
He might, because he may be the leading pass catcher today. He might be rushing and leading in pass catching today. I think he's going to do a lot. He's good for this offense. However, I think Mahomes pulls it out. You know, he still has his safety blanket in Kelce. If he didn't have Kelce, I'd pick the Chargers. But I think he'll pull it out because, you know, the Chargers will keep it close because that's what the Chargers do. And
Hardman's back with the Chiefs this week too, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they got him back this week.
Whoa. I can't go back. Chargers.
So you guys are double lone wolfing this week, you know. So Joe's lone wolfing on both Baltimore and the Chargers. Steve, of course, on the Vikings and Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah. So yeah, I listen, and they're two matchups that you're lone wolfing in on the other two that you can go either way and you feel a little better about. You know, there's no well, other than Steve. He's the only one that's going with the home team. So but yeah.
It took me all week to get here knowing that Debo was out and Christian McCaffrey might be out and Trent Williams might be out to get that close. So it
got you. I almost want to pull up and see what the injury reports are now. Give us one last chance to try to change your picks in case somebody you thought was playing is not playing. Wait a minute.
Left track, there we go.
No Daniel Jones today. No Juju Smith-Schuster today.
there's a lot of people on those injured reports, but somehow some guys are going to magically feel a lot better at game time. You know, I can't put my finger on that either, but I have an idea. So that's our show for the week, guys. We'll see how these picks pan out. We're about 40 minutes away from kickoff for the early games. No early game to report on this morning, so that was the first time in a few weeks.
Yeah, I missed that.
We'll see if we have more hair on the show next week. With Ashby here. Hopefully she's back in the host seat. Derwin James questionable for the Chargers. He'll be fine. So once you put questionable, most likely he's playing.
I can't go back on my pick. Come on, Chargers.
Nobody puts probable anymore. You ever notice that? Nobody puts probable.
Yeah, that's true.
Play. He's going, which means he's playing. Okay, everybody
And
was
the Chiefs have had to rely on their defense keeping him in games too, which is also its own different weird naggy thing.
Yeah.
A lot of hate for Nagy in this show.
But
In case you might pick up on it.
so I think the Chargers will actually have a lead in the fourth quarter, but they'll leave too much time for Patrick and Kelsey, and they'll have magic in the fourth quarter.
It's a different narrative today. You heard it here first.
An honest observation based on track record of a guy who you wondered how he got a head coaching job as an offensive coordinator. Well, he wasn't even a coordinator, but as an offensive assistant, and got the head coaching job. Was supposed to be a guru. Never was a guru.
By nagging.
Yeah.
I'll be here all week. Tickets are available.
So yeah, it's an honest observation based on track record. If I walk up to the guy, I'd shake his hand on the street and wonder how much money he stole being a head coach, because an honest observation was you didn't deserve the job. But, you know, who am I to say that sitting here in Tampa while he's in Kansas City getting paid? So
it's always that.
It is what it is, right? So next week we're back. Once again, the last word, then moving the chains, hopefully with Ashmere in this seat. Not this particular seat, but in the host chair. For Joe, for Steve, for Greg in the chat, for all the folks at Team MBS, we'd like to say thanks for watching. We'll be back next week. Take care, everybody.
See you later.
Enjoy the games.